Three things Europe can do to fuck Russia up. In pretty massive news in recent days, the EU announced a loan of $90 billion for Ukraine. But is it enough to fuck Russia up and put Putin in his place? Absolutely nowhere near. Meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of things Europe could be doing to help Ukraine, but is either dithering over or moving at a characteristically glacial pace. Number one, EU security guarantee. Now, there's actually been some progress on Ukraine's EU membership in recent days, and there are even reports that Ukraine joining by January the 1st, 2027 is part of the latest US peace plan. And why is this a big deal? Well, because although NATO's Article 5 grabs all the headlines, the EU actually has its own version, and it's actually stronger than NATO's. Article 42.7 of the EU Treaty states that if an EU member is victim of armed aggression, then all EU member states have an obligation of aid and assistance by all means in their power. Obviously, that's open to interpretation and would be subject to all sorts of political wrangling, but it does mean that if a ceasefire was agreed and Russia broke it, which it will, it vastly increases the likelihood of Europe finally doing what is necessary to stop Russia, smacking them in the face and putting them back in their miserable little box. But standing in the way of EU membership is Hungary's Viktor fucking Orban, Putin's European lackey who looks like he's one goulash away from a coronary. Number two, Russia's shadow fleet. There's a good reason why Ukraine has gone a bit piratey recently and is blowing up Russian shadow fleet vessels all over the place. And that's because they're sick and tired of waiting for Europe to actually rock up and do something about them. Despite all the rhetoric and sanctions, Russia's shadow fleet is actually pretty much free to sail wherever they like. There's so much more that Europe can do. Shadow fleet vessels aren't too difficult to spot, they aren't insured, they often travel dark with their identities hidden, and are usually in such bad shape physically that they're just floating oil spills waiting to happen. Suspicion of any of these is grounds for inspection, and if found breaching any of these, they can be detained. But European countries are doing this about once a week, instead of the multiple times a day necessary to make any impact. And this isn't just about stopping oil money flowing to Russia. These shadow fleet tankers have been used to launch drones over European airports, they're mapping Europe's underwater infrastructure, and at any moment could just accidentally dump 1 million barrels of oil into European waters. Number three, the frozen assets. Just give Ukraine the money. Europe is still fretting about the granular legalities of the rules-based world order, even as Russia, and now the US, is tearing it down and pissing and laughing all over the remains. Yes, these are big and difficult decisions, but if there was ever a time for big and difficult decisions, it's now. And to be honest, the best thing about it is the poetic justice of using billions of dollars accumulated by a mafia state and squirreled away abroad by evil, corrupt Russians to build a fuckload of Flamingo missiles to smash into everything they hold dear. Which I guess would mean targeting more oil refineries and the Dolce & Gabbana stores that are still operating inside Russia.